Hello, welcome to Đồng Nai Radio and Television Station. Here comes the latest updates. On the occasion of the 45th anniversary of the liberation of the South and reunification of the country, April the 30th, 1975, April the 30th, 2020, the Vietnam Military History Museum is coordinating with the Political Bureau, Military Region 7, to organize the exhibition Great Victory Spring at Ho Chi Minh Campaigns Museum, Ho Chi Minh City, from now until August 2020. The exhibition introduces nearly 300 documents, images, and artifacts typical of the historic Ho Chi Minh campaigns through three topic groups: Heading to Saigon, People's Power, Echo of the Great Victory Spring. In particular, the exhibition showcases two national treasures, namely the Ho Chi Minh Campaign Operation Command Book, recorded by the officers on duty of the Ho Chi Minh Campaign Forward Command Post in Cam Se, Bình Dương Province, and map of determination of Ho Chi Minh campaigns used by the Operation Room of the Command of the Liberation Army of South Vietnam from April 15 to April 21, 1975. There's also a piece of music and lyric of the song As If There Were Alcohol in the Day of the Great Victory by the composer Phạm Tuyên, recorded for the first time. The historic Ho Chi Minh campaign, a decisive and strategic campaign in 1975, general offensive and rebellion, is a glorious landmark, marking the successful end of the Vietnamese people resistance war against the U.S. to save the country. On April 28th, Vice Chairman of Đồng Nai People's Committee Nguyễn Hòa Hiệp chaired a meeting with relevant departments to reach an agreement on the implementation plan of Decision Number 15, April 24, 2020, of the Prime Minister on the implementation of the policies to support people in difficulties due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In order to implement the government's Decision Number 15, the Provincial People's Committee issued a draft implementation plan in the province. The requested purpose of the plan is to provide true, sufficient, and timely support to ensure no duplicate or missing subjects, as prescribed in Decision Number 15, the spirit of the government's Resolution 42, and the guidance of the central agency, and to clearly define responsibilities of the services, branches, localities, enterprises, organizations, units, and the individual involved in the implementation. Specifically, the supported subjects consisted of 7 groups. Funding sources for payment include lawful financial sources of lottery companies and sources of refinancing with their security, 0% interest rate from the state bank under the government's Decision Number 15, and a source from the provincial budget. In conclusion of the meeting, Vice Chairman Nguyễn Hòa Hiệp proposed related units to urgently review groups of subjects, specifically Department of Labor, War Invalids and Social Affairs, Social Insurance, Department of Taxation, and the Grassroots People's Committee carry out thorough verification to avoid omission and duplication. For the target groups, including people with meritorious services, poor households, and near-poor households, the units need to quickly provide support. According to an update on Worldometer's website, by the morning of April 29th, the total number of COVID-19 infections globally has been 3,138,097 cases, with 217,968 deaths. In particular, the number of infections in the U.S. has exceeded 1 million. Specifically, the number of infections in the U.S. is 1,035,765, and the number of deaths is 59,266. Data released by Johns Hopkins University indicates that there are more than 1 million positive people in the United States. Meanwhile, data from Centers for Disease Control and Prevention (CDC) on April 28th, U.S. time, showed that there were 981,246 infections and 55,258 deaths. According to the CDC, the number of deaths will continue to increase if people do not maintain a social distancing measure. Conversely, if these measures are taken seriously, the number of deaths will drop sharply in the next 4 weeks. On the same day, President Donald Trump said he was considering testing passengers on international flights coming from the hotspots of the pandemic. Meanwhile, in New York, Governor Andrew Cuomo said the number of new cases has dropped to the lowest level below 1,000 since March the 24th, and stated that the areas with few cases would be reopened. On April the 28th, at the online international conference on climate change, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said that the COVID-19 pandemic has exposed the fragility of the society and economy to shocks. Therefore, courageous, visionary, and coordinated leadership is the only solution to not only deal with the pandemic, but also the threat of the climate change. Mr. Guterres has called on countries to pledge to stop releasing CO2, the main greenhouse gas emissions, into the atmosphere by 2050. He proposed a six-point plan to ensure that governments will also focus on climate change issues in the efforts to recover from the pandemic. This plan includes trillions of dollars for programs to promote green jobs and sustainable growth. The plan also calls for an end to subsidizing fossil fuels and the punishment of organizations and individuals for polluting the environment. In addition, the UN Secretary General also called on the European Union to show its global leadership with the introduction of an emissions reduction plan updated later this year with the goal of becoming the first emission-neutral continent by 2050. That's all the news for today. Thank you for watching and goodbye for now.